welcome to another edition of Building the ELR. Today we're here live at the ELR. I thought, seeing as it's been a while, I'll do a layout update actually at the ELR, which will be interesting. Coming up in the show, we've got
the line side buffet on platform 3 and 4 build, which was interesting. How we're going to turn this triangle tanker into the water tower. We've got some scenics down finally at the bottom end of the layout, and we're also going to be taking a look at some of the new rolling stock that's managed to make it to the ELR. There is plenty more than what I've got time to show you today, but I'm going to get through as much as I can. We're also going to be taking a look at the Thomas weekend, getting ready for next year and the new Thomas events. We've got a lovely video of Union of South Africa running during the 1940s event last year. We've got my version of the Class 4106 getting it ready for the ELR. In the news we have Onslaught and its rebrand and rename. And of course we've got the footage of 4106 from my visit to the ELR. And right at the very end of the video we also have one hell of a huge announcement. But up first we have this.
I've been doing some work on the actual loco at the layout, so I think it's about time we went and had a look at the new locos, and at the end of it we'll have a look at 4106 and the work I've been doing on that.
Okay, so as I said earlier, we've got a small selection of locos for you now, and we're starting off with the B12 at 8572. Now this loco is from the North Norfolk Railway. It did come to Berron Street to have some repairs done by Riley's Engineering Works. It reportedly did the length of the line and then back off to the North Norfolk Railway, never to be seen again. Maybe one day, eh? Next up, 5149 Defiance. Again, as far as we know, as far as I know, it's never run on the ELR rails. However, there's always a chance. It's still out there in preservation, pottering around. You never know. Now this next loco, 35517, it's going to be parts at Castleton Sheds. It's currently owned by West Coast Railways, and it's a donor loco for their 37s. It'll never run again. But I just think it looks nice, doesn't it? I love that load hole. I love it. I think it looks stunning in that. Next up, City of Wells. I've done a special on this already, so you already know quite a bit about this model. 34092. It's a Hornby model, and it's one of the mainstay owned locos of the East Lancs Railway. Now, Repson visited the East Lancs in 2019 at one of the steam galas, I think it was, and it's owned by the North Yorkshire Moors Railway. Next up we have 50007 Edward Elgar. It's currently mainline, painted in GBRF colours. However, it did visit the East Lancs in this livery in July 2004 for a diesel gala. Next up we have this truck. I saw this at Truckfest, the model itself, and I thought I've got to have it. I'm sure I can convert that to be a loco hauling wagon. Would look amazing. I also saw this little VW camper van and I thought, yep, got to have it. Absolutely awesome. Right, last up we've got 73082 Camelot. Now this is a loco that's based at the Bluebell Railway and has never actually been to the East Lancs. You never know, one day, eh? Anyone watching? Please, make it happen. Right, I think it's about time that we took a quick look at the Class 4106 that I've been doing up for the building the ELR layout. It's already got a TTS Class 47 chip in it with a standard speaker. That's the only modification that it's been DCC chipped as well. It is a Lima model, so non-DCC ready. So first of all, we're going to replace the motor that's inside it. It's an old magnet motor, Ringfield I believe they call it. So it's just a case of these kits I've got. I'll leave the link in the description. Excellent they are. 3D printed like carriage with the motor. So it's just a case of undoing the 2 screws either side of the motor casing, remove the lid, and that reveals the actual status inside and the magnet around the outside. If you remove both of these, just prise them out with a screwdriver, and then it's just simply a case of getting the new motor and clipping it into place. I did have a minor issue with the size of the gear that goes on the head of the motor. I had to cut it down a little bit just so that it fit properly and it wasn't binding. But other than that, it was a straightforward job. It's just a case of taking the wires off the old motor plate cover, soldering on new ones, bit of heat shrink, make sure they don't short out, and then it's just a case of replacing the bogie. Fairly straightforward procedure, made extremely easy by an extremely good quality kit. Now, the modification I had to make to the little sprocket gear was because this motor housing and motor isn't designed for a Class 40. It was for, I think, a 37. So it did need a little bit of modification to make it work. Now I'm also going to add a different speaker as well. I've managed to get this off Western Wagon Works, and reasonably cheap, and they're an extremely good quality speaker. I think it's an iPhone speaker inside a new 3D printed housing, to be fair. And I'm going to leave the second part to the next layout update, where we're going to be fitting some lights and then giving the thing a nice good old weathering.
2 excellent videos coming up. We've got 1940s weekend and we've got the Thomas weekend. Now they're not going to be running 1940s weekend this year. That's already been and gone. Didn't happen due to circumstances. However, the Thomas weekend is still on, so I thought I'd give you a quick look at what is involved in the Thomas weekend. Great for your kids. Bye-bye!
Thomas Weekend is an absolutely amazing event that is put on in quite a few heritage railways up and down the country, but the way the East Lancs do it, oh yes, it works. They actually have a Thomas. Now admittedly, Thomas is actually called Gothenburg and recently appeared in a steam gala in navy blue, and wow, you just would not believe it was the same loco to look at, to be fair, but still serves its purpose and works hard on the LR, shunting the troublesome trucks backwards and forwards with guests, and it's also a great way to get to see Buckley Wells, because normally you don't unless you pay for one of the guided tours and stuff like that. If you get on the Thomas train, you get a quick ride back to Buckley Wells and a quick ride back into the platform. The unit you can see in the background is actually the last surviving 504 set that used to run from Manchester to Bury before the Metrolink, and it only ever ran on that line. It was bespoke for that line. During these events you can also see quite a wide range of stock. They do put quite a bit out on these Thomas weekends. All the steam locals usually are dressed up, but you do get to see some lovely things like this classic DMU. Obviously the mainstay of the fleet, they're always out. 37, in this particular case, 37109. And she's backed up on the rear with a rather shiny D5054. We do also have the shunters that come from a siding into Rammy Station when there's no locos about. And if the kids are really lucky, they might get inside to have a look and do the following. It does seem every event they bring a different shunter out. So every time I go there seems to be something different running in the station. And they do have quite a few shunters as well. And it is nice to see them. You don't get to see them very often. They certainly don't make it onto the main line usually. This is pretty much one of the only times you get to see them out and about, and it is a lovely sight. If you like cameras and you like filming locals, Ramsbottom Station's got a lovely public footbridge that goes, well, I say public, station footbridge that goes over the platforms. Great view from above. You get to see, you get to see it from above, let's just leave it at that. It's even better when a steam loco comes past. 37109 has been with the East Lancs for many years and is one of the staple locals of the fleet. And on my way back to the station, I was privileged enough to be able to get this piece of footage. If you have surround sound, headphones, whatever, get them on, turn it up. Well, after that right royal racket, I'm going to take you back to the layout. Now, this is a layout video I did, a running session I did, should I say, about 6 months ago. So it's pre-sceneried and pre-ballasted, and before I got some of the more modern locos. However, you get a good view of what's on show, and yeah, nice little running session for you. Enjoy. So that was the first of 2 running sessions. The second one is a little bit later on down the line when we have a bit more scenery. So now I think it's about time we got to see exactly how far we've got with the layout so far. So here's the layout update.
Okay, it's time for the update section. Now there's been a considerable amount of work been done on this layout since the last update. I'll get to the biggest part shortly. At the moment we're looking at all the ballasting's been completed on the station section and some of the detail has been done. Current derailments and stuff, but never mind. But yeah, so far station buildings, we have quite a few new locos on the station now. There has been some progress on the toilet block. It now has a roof. Still needs some paint though, and then the other one needs bringing up to the same spec. As far as the trackwork is concerned now, that is well weathered. It's just awaiting its grease, oil and grease, and a final clean down and then a final detail. The car park has now all been repainted. All the tarmac's been done black. So the sections that I said needed tarmacking have now been done. The paving has now been completed on the wall section. Has now been done down this side. So there's just the painting of the pavements to do to bring them up to the same scale as that. The inside of the stations, all the insides of the buildings have yet to be done. Moving down, like I said, paving is now complete all the way down. So as far as this section's concerned, the paving is now complete. Moving down, we've got further down here, all the edges now have been re-glued. All this stone stuff down this section has now all been re-glued. That was a task and a half, I can tell you. Ballasting is now complete going into this section. What else have I done? Oh yeah, we now have the shed is now looking something like, finally. All the groundworks have been completed around it. So it's just the internals of the shed to do now. This section here, it's all been ballasted up. And some greenery has been applied, some staining on the wall, but there's a lot more to do yet, a bit more detail to do. We now have the stone building instead of the brick one, and the brick one has now been moved a bit further down, and there's another one to go in yet, which I believe goes somewhere around here. So if you're part of the Facebook group, you'll have seen most of these modifications. Now, the big change on the layout update, which is something I'm quite impressed with myself. Took a bit of doing this. Board 3 is now under construction, which is the ski jump. So this is fairly accurate actually to the way it is on the ELR. So you have the signal box, and then there's a siding just here, and then the point that turns off this way, and that takes you down to Buckley Wells. This centre line here takes you down to Barron Street at the bottom, and then you have the 2 coach sidings on the other side. And then coming down here, you have the turn round to the first of 2 bridges. Now in the real ELR, just here, there was a second arch, and the line came down from over there, split, and went that way. So you could tie onto the Manchester line. It also went straight across as well, and that way to Bolton. This is all signalling yard, this section here. On the real ELR, all this bit area here is where they store all the bits and bats for the signalling gear, the rods, and any of these little boxes, these things. Plus there's a couple of locos parts up here, and obviously you've got your carry sidings and everything, so there's still a lot of work to do in this section here. And then going across, you have the 2 bridges. Now one of them is getting near to completion, the other one still has a bit of work to do on it. The internal archway. Now a lot of this is going to have bushes and greenery, so you're not going to see all these joints. Plus there needs to be, going over here, there's like some stone capping that I need to 3D print and then glue on. And then obviously the same has to apply for this bridge here, which hasn't been done yet, and the tops haven't been done. We have 2 lights, street lights. These will be going in
Pretty much, I think it's pretty much there, to be fair, a little bit further down. And then there's another one, so there's 2 on each bridge. They're ready to go in. And then moving up, you have this space here. Now this is a multi-storey car park. It is basically flush with here, with the single storey there, and then a flat roof, and then there's 2 storeys going down underneath. So that'll be under construction. Moving along, you have the actual Metrolink bridge. So this is the Metrolink line. Got my 31s on here at the moment. I have purchased the equipment to do the overhead cabling. It's going to run underneath here because obviously the Metrolink is an electric line, but I need to complete the bridge construction first. And then over here we have the pyramid garden, like Play Park or whatever it's called. It's now currently closed to public, but there's these random pyramid things, and it's all grass basically with some fencing, and then you back onto the tracks up there. So basically the aim of the game is to get this section here complete, and then I'll do the bridge, Metrolink track bed, and then work that way going onto the next board, which goes off that way going over to Haywood station. Now I know it's green, but this is just a base coat. There is static grass to go over the top of this. Obviously the ballast in. There's still a little bit of work on the point mechanism that isn't actually finished yet. So I've still got a tad bit of work on the track to do there, just to get it working properly. And then I need to make a final decision on how I'm going to dress them points there, because I don't really want point motors on the joints of the boards. Well, I don't, full stop. So I've got to figure out a way of trying to keep it as realistic as possible, but without having a point motor right on the edge, which is, yeah, hopefully I can get away with it. So that's basically the position we are with the layout at the moment. I held off with trackside. I didn't bother doing trackside for the simple reason that the method I've been using to construct the front of the building, I'm going to change because I found an easier way of doing it. So I didn't want to go any further with this until I tried and tested the new method that I was going to use, and then I can complete the building. And there is a reasonable amount of 3D printing to do to get this, to get trackside finished. So as of yet I haven't got a 3D printer because, well, I'll get to the reason why shortly. But yeah, a couple of these lights have been damaged over time. One of them snapped and got glued back together courtesy of the cat, and the lights ended up halfway down the shaft. We had the same problem on that one there, so they're a rebuild. I'm going to have to take them out and put new ones in. And that one doesn't work at the moment because the wires come off underneath the board. However, again, it's not something I'm overly critically concerned with at the moment, because there's lighting going in these 2 buildings here, and then there's lighting going in on the platform as well. You saw earlier on the cafe build underneath, which is down there. The front door needs doing in internals, so I'll get to that very shortly. Yeah, so there we have it. Quite a substantial change since the last layout update. Materials are here to continue on with this, as you can see. Huge amount of foliage there now, massive box of the stuff ready to go in, which will do all on that back edge down there. It'll do round here because this is all bits and bats of foliage. Same across here. There's some trees on this banking round here, plenty of static grass. Tree construction is going to start soon because we are going to need hundreds of these. So I found a better method of gluing, which we covered in what is it, Building the Diorama Part 2, which has been edited. It's just in the middle of voiceover, and at the moment I'm struggling with voiceover because I have 2 children, and getting the time to actually do it without them screaming and shouting in the background is quite difficult. But I'm getting there, so don't worry. Obviously I've got this layout update out with a bit of voiceover work, so I should get the Diorama Part 2 out very shortly. The signal box is going to be rebuilt to suit the actual real signal box. The windows on the front of this unit are different in the real one, so I'm going to buy another kit and then rebuild this modified to suit but that is pretty much its location in the real world. And then there's some paths that come across and some work that comes over here. Now there's some ballasting work started here. I got quite a way through it and then thought, hang on a minute, I haven't put any of the pathways in, I haven't put any of the pipes in, and there's still bits of sleepers missing. So I'm holding off again. I'll have that completed before the end of the week because something is happening this weekend. By the time this video goes out, it will have already happened. Because I mean, it's what we are now, Tuesday, and it's due to be moved to its new home Saturday, Sunday. Now, right from the very beginning, I explained that this layout wasn't just these 3 boards. It's not just Bolton Street Station and then the ski jump. It's Barron Street going that way, Buckley Wells, Haywood, Castleton going that way, and then down this way you're going off to not just to my toilet, but you're going off to the museum, and then further on down to Ramsbottom and eventually Rottenstall. I do intend to build the full layout as best as I possibly can. So that being said, and as you can see, there's a considerable amount of distance in these boards, and it's taken over the house. We have a 5-month-old boy now and a 4-year-old girl who live in here, and this is proving a nightmare with this layout here, so it can't stay. I've been saying this for a while, so I found the layout a new home. More details will come on that in the next layout update, which will follow this pretty rapidly, I would think. It looks like we're going to be teaming up with a few other people to try and make this happen. This is going to be huge, absolutely huge. I'm not going to give you too many details right now, but there's a huge chunk of this layout going to get built very, very, very quickly over the next few months. So I'm going to leave you with that, I think, and that's the layout. So we'll move on to the next part of the show. The star of the show today, right behind me, 4106, absolutely superb logo. So 4106, it's owned by the Class 40 Preservation Society based in Bury. They have charge of 3 Class 40 locos, 4106, 4135 and 4145. Now, Class 4106, named Atlantic Conveyor, is normally based at the Severn Valley Railway. It's come back to Bury for some repairs that couldn't be completed there by the Class 40 Preservation Society team. It was given a couple of line runs just whilst it was there, basically for testing purposes. One on a nice day, one on a not so nice day, as you can see. The other 2 locos that the Class 40 Preservation Society are in charge of is 4135 and 4145. 4145 is currently on hire by LSL Locomotive Services and is on mainline duties pulling freight. 4135 is currently under repair and is in pieces with major segmental bearing issues, which unfortunately have had to be replaced. So, all that being said, I think it's about time we took a nice little video montage look at 4106 Atlantic Conveyor. Stunning, stunning piece of kit. Okay, a few fun facts about 4106. She was built at Robert Stevenson and Hawthorne factory in Darlington. She took part in the Rocket at 150 celebrations at Rainhill, and that was in May 1980, and actually made it on TV. It featured in the movie Buster, where they depicted the Great Train Robbery, and it was bought by the CPS in November 2015. So if you fancy taking a gander at 4106, you can either wait till the next time she reappears on the East Lancs Railway, or get yourself down to the Severn Valley Railway and have a nosy at her down there. Obviously when everything's back up and running. So I think it's time we move on. Let's have a quick nosy at some of the stuff we've been building on the layout recently. Going to make a start here, I think, with the cafe building. Now, it's a simple foam board construction, cardboard wrapped around the outside, scraping using a blunt Stanley blade, the rafters, the boards even, and then gluing bits of cardboard on to replicate the wooden framing. Glaze the inside, build the roof, add a little bit of wiring inside with some LEDs, and then a couple of pieces of plastic on the top to represent strip lights. There we go. Dead easy build. The hardest part was putting them stupid little pieces of plastic on to replicate the window panes, and that's what it's supposed to look like. And next up we have the L container. Now this is an old Triang truck which I stripped back, cleared all the plastics off, give it a good rub down, coat of primer, built the frame, lattice steelwork frame for it, and then basically give it a nice coat of black paint. And last of all, we've got the first little bit of scenics that went down on the first bit of the scenics on the entire layout. We put a couple of people in and we ballasted some track. We put some paperwork in for the walls. I then painted the base green to give it a base colour. It was then covered in like a flock material, and then finished off with a little bit of static grass and some bushes. It has made the world of difference to the layout, putting some ballasting down, as you'll see later on in the film. I can't tell you how much it changed me as a builder to actually see some final coverings going on after so many months, if not years, of just seeing cork and baseboard and track. It reinvigorates you and thinks, it gets you thinking, come on, we can do this. And from every angle, if you've ever been to the East Lancs and you know your way around the East Lancs, you'll know these angles that you're seeing now on the screen. I didn't think it would come out to look just this accurate, but it actually does look blooming accurate, and I'm really pleased with it. If I can get the rest of the layout to this standard or better, then everybody's in for a treat. There's no two ways about it. So, as promised earlier on, I think next up we're going to have the 1940s event at East Lancs, where we filmed predominantly Union of South Africa. This loco is something very, very special.
You can take the moon, gather up the stars and the robins that sing merrily. Put them in the box, tie with a ribbon, throw them in the deep blue sea. You can take the flowers down in Lover's Lane and that sentimental poetry. Put them in the box, tie with a ribbon, throw them in the deep blue sea. Not for me, all that stuff, the dreams that ruin your sleep. Not for me, had enough. Love is one thing you can keep. You can take the plans and the wedding bells and whoever sings, oh, promise me. Put them in a box, tie 'em with a ribbon, throw 'em in the deep blue sea. 'Cause love and I, we don't agree. Through the park, kisses in the dark, all the promises made faithfully. Put 'em in the box, tie 'em with a ribbon, throw 'em in the deep blue sea. you take a song sung by Frankie Boy or Mr. C? Put 'em in the box, tie with a ribbon, throw 'em in the deep blue sea. Not for me, all that stuff. Not for me, had enough. You know what to do with good old tea for two and the girl for you, the boy for me. Put 'em in a box, tie with a ribbon, throw 'em in the deep blue sea. 'Cause love and I, we don't agree. From the tip of his toes to the tip of his nose, he's every chick's pride and joy. Got a knocked-out style and the cutest smile. Love that boy with his baby blue eyes and his droopy bow ties. He's king of the heart forlorn. Don't know what he's got, but he's got a lot. Love that boy. He's a graduate as a fashion plate. The chicks all call him a righteous gent. They would nominate him for chief of state, but he'd rather be righteous than be president. He just is what he is. The technique is all his. Boy, it's the real McCoy. Did you hear me state? I'll reiterate. Love that boy. From the tip of his toes to the tip of his nose, he's every chick's pride and joy. Got a knocked-out style and the cutest smile. Love that boy with his baby blue eyes and his droopy bow ties. He's king of the hoi polloi. Don't know what he's got, but he's got a lot. Love that boy. He's a graduate as a fashion plate. The chicks all call him a righteous gent. They would nominate him for chief of state, but he'd rather be righteous than be president. He just is what he is. The technique is all his. Boy, it's the real McCoy. Did you hear me state? I'll reiterate. Love that boy.
Every time. What an absolutely stunningly beautiful piece of kit that A4 Pacific actually is. Anyway, as I promised earlier on, there was a second running session that I did literally just before the layout was pulled apart and moved to its new home. This running session features some of the most up-to-date locos on the layout that we have. There's been a few new ones since this has been filmed. However, as locos that have actually run on the layout, this is the best of the best that we've got at the moment. Don't worry about the northern unit, that's for the Castleton Junction main line, and I'm basically just having a play. Anyway, sit back and enjoy, and you'll see a few cameo appearances, Flying Scotsman, a Class 15. There's a few cameos in the background, keep your eye out. And from one hydraulic to another hydraulic in the news in the LR today. Yes, Onslaught gave us all the shock of our lives when she came out after a repaint. I paid a special trip just to go and get a couple of shots of this when it came out of the paint shop. They kept it a secret because I had no idea. Its real name is D832 Onslaught, and when it came out of its paint, it was 818 Glory. They've done an absolutely superb job giving it a fresh coat of paint. It looks amazing in its blue and yellow. I mean, it was originally in green, and the model that I have for the layout is in green. So obviously I'm going to have to get a blue one now. Oh dear, what a shame. Got to get another loco. The reason it's been named 818 Glory is apparently because Glory 818 is the donor vehicle that has basically kept Onslaught on the rails and owes a debt of gratitude to that loco. And I thought it was quite nice of him to do that, actually. It's very poignant. Anyway, a little bit of footage for you. What can I say? Absolutely stunning. Right, that brings us to the end of the layout update. If you're still watching, it's been quite a long one that, so thanks for hanging around. Hope you enjoyed it. There's a lot of filming there, and yeah, it was good fun making that one. It's taken me literally so much time to actually code it all up. It's been some time since the layout update was filmed, and now when the layout update is being put out, length of my hair kind of gives it away. But still, there's a couple of extra things I thought I'd like mention that I was going to save for a later update, but given we're in lockdown now, I have no idea how long it's going to be before I get the next layout update out. The layout has now left. It's no longer in my house. It is now in an industrial unit not too far from here. We've set up a Facebook and a website for Bolton Model Railway Club, which will in turn look after the model railway. We have some construction has already been done by myself and one of the other YouTube and Facebook moderators, Andy Bennett from Head Bumps, and of course Chris, joiner Chris. We have created everything south of Bolton Street Station. So that's the boards for Buckley Wells, the boards for Berron Street, Castleton, Haywood, and the other half of the ski jump. Those boards are now built. The next job will be track laying. Unfortunately, it should have been caulked, track laid, and we should be well on the way to scenics now had we not had lockdown. This update would have been 8 months ago, and you'd now be watching a more in-depth review of where we're up to with the layout. Speaking of which, this is the last of the big shows that I'm going to do. From now on, the layout updates are going to be pretty much all about the layout, because I'm hoping once lockdown's over with, we can crack on. Now, the club open days are going to be Wednesday and probably Saturday or maybe Sunday. So there'll be at least 2 days a week that somebody will be on site at the club doing things. And hopefully with as many members as we can get down there, we should see this layout built rather rapidly. I am now putting out an appeal for sponsors, so I'll deal with this more in the next layout update. So we're looking for sponsors for the layout. And we're looking for members. Maybe not so much now, obviously, because we've got COVID and there's not really a great deal you can do. However, in the future, we're going to need drivers, we're going to need people to work on the scenery, we're just going to need help from every angle, basically. This is no small layout. The latest measurements are coming in at around 30 metres long, about 6 metres wide. It's a big one. So we're going to need some help. Now, the beauty of this place that we've took this layout to is they have a whole open floor of a massive building that we can use to set the layout up. So that's the whole layout can be put together in its entirety to be fettled, tested, or for driver training. We are going to need driver training on this as well, because the layout is so big. We're going to need multiple drivers covering different sections of the layout, so it's going to be pretty comprehensive. So that being said, that's the end of the layout update proper now, because I've told you the bit that I needed to tell you. And hopefully I will see you all in the next layout update, where we will be at the layout's new home and looking at the layout. Incidentally, videos like this I'm probably going to do once every 3 months, because it requires a lot of filming at the ELR, which I don't get a great deal of time for. So, and plus it kind of revolves around big events as well. So I'm hoping to put one every 3 months out that's pretty similar. It won't be as long as this, but pretty similar to this. And I am hoping one every 2 weeks, maybe one a week, depending on how much work actually gets done on these open days when we do the club open days. So we'll see how it rolls. But anyway, thanks for watching, and yeah, we'll see you all soon.
Right, next board then.